Welcome to YAS Stripper Podcast. On this podcast, we'll talk about how classifying ourselves as workers is dangerous to society and marginalized people. We will also talk about the climate in and out of the club and all of the amazing things that sex workers do, and everything else in between. This is Daisy Ducati with YAS Stripper Podcast. I'm Daisy Ducati, and I'm here with Amberly Rothfield today, who is just one of my absolute favorite people in the industry. They're an absolute wealth of knowledge when it comes to how to run an online sex work business. They do consulting sessions and really get into the science of algorithms on social media and how different content is prioritized or deprioritized or shadow banned or chosen for deletion. And I think it's really important for us to have this conversation of how things actually work and how we can use these algorithms to our advantage to run our businesses online. And I think that it's amazing to be able to speak to someone who has the kind of knowledge that Amberly has, because for a lot of us, there's guesswork involved and we're upset and angry that our posts are being deleted or shadow banned, or we feel like we're not getting the reach we're supposed to be getting. And Amberly kind of explains how that works and why that is and how to use the algorithm to your advantage. And I'm really excited about this conversation. And we also get into the topic of neurodiversity in sex work, which is really important to me. Amberly and I spoke on a panel a while ago that Amberly hosted, and we talked about our different conditions and experiences with neurodiversity. I have ADHD and PTSD, and Amberly is Aspie, and we talked about how it's important to sort of embrace our differences, and also how letting people know that we have these differences can sort of change our interactions in a way that creates understanding. And I know personally, when I started publicly talking about having ADHD in particular, I had a lot of people approach me directly and say that they can relate to that and that it's helpful to them to see these perspectives that they relate to and these struggles that they relate to also. So we get into that, and I am so glad to be able to speak to Amberly about everything that we do and our experiences. And I really hope that you enjoy this conversation as well, and that it's informative and helpful for you. And I'm excited. So without further ado, let's go forward and meet Amberly. Hello, Amberly. I'm really excited to be talking to you today. How are you?
I'm wonderful, and I'm stupid amounts of excited to talk to you. You're one of my favorite people.
You're one of my favorite people.
This just became a love fest. I'm here for it.
So for our listeners, first I'd like to introduce myself. I am Daisy Ducati, and I am going to be helping out with hosting on the YAS Stripper podcast. And this is my very first episode. And Amberly, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
I would love to. I also didn't. Well, yeah, that's right. You did DM me and say it was your first time on the YAS. Yes, that's great. I'm so excited for you. But yeah, so I have been a phone sex operator, webcam performer, and independent clip creator for about, Jesus, I'm old, 17 years now. And honestly, wouldn't change it for the world. One of the best things, choices, decisions I've ever made in my life. And I now teach business and marketing because I managed to get to the top. This sounds so narcissistic, but I managed to get to the top of several different sites, not because I looked the traditional way of most of the big models that we know that are out there, but because I'm really good at hacking algorithms and figuring out why stuff gets positioned and then being able to mimic that with my own content.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
Also very nerdy.
I admire your talent. You have just been a wealth of knowledge. Since I've met you, I've learned so much about the online sex work realm. And I'm pretty excited to share some of that with our listeners. First of all, I forgot to ask, what are your pronouns?
So I identify as non-binary, but I literally answer to just about anything at this point. But I do prefer they, zir, but if they, there works also perfectly well too.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I will remember that.
If you don't, it's okay with me. It happens.
I will remember. I will put in the effort and remember.
I appreciate it. Well, you're really good at making people feel seen. But yeah, so that's
thanks.
Me.
What I know you've been working on a lot of online workshops lately. Do you want to tell us about some of the things you've been working on as far as teaching?
Yeah. So during this thing that a small thing you may have heard of, the pandemic, I've become absolutely obsessed with machine learning and AI. And because we're beginning to see a lot of it happening in the adult industry, and also really deep diving into further into algorithms. I've always been into algorithms, but looking more into like shadow ban versus suppression. And I just recently did a class on social viral scores. So what every time you make a post, what is it that then makes that post get other people to see it? Is it like how is that determined? And so we went over from the moment you hit post, how machine learning, which is how a lot of social media sites and platforms now look at a post, where does that post then go to? Because if you know where your posts are going to go to, then you know how to better craft the post so that it goes on the best path and the most people see it. So that that sounds stupidly nerdy. I just lost half your audience. I'm very sorry.
No, I mean, it's really valuable information. I feel like social media is kind of a mystery to a lot of us. And there's a lot of guesswork involved in like how to get engagement and what the engagement means. And I actually really appreciate that you're looking into the facts and science about what all that means. So
it's so funny. I'm like, and it's definitely a science. I just never think of it that way. People are like, it's science. I'm like, I don't have a lab coat. I need to get a lab coat. But yeah, it's that stuff that always fascinated me. For your listeners, I'll give this little hot take, which was part of the class that we did. When you first make a post, 10% of your audience it's sent to. Like, it's just, there's a pool. If you look at like kind of like dropping a drop of water into a glass of water, that first ripple that it's shown to is 10% of your audience. And from there, depending upon their reactions, then it's going to show it to a higher percentage of your audience. If not enough people are engaging with it, then it's not going to be shown to them, so on and so forth. So understanding that, I think, is crucial to knowing what to create, what to put out there, what times to put it out there. And so that's a little nugget. If you think about, okay, 10% of my people are going to see this, what do I want them to do in order to get the next 10% to see it?
And how do they decide like who is included in that 10%? Like,
I'm so glad.
Just a random number?
It's not random at all. It's based off of the people that typically engage with you first, because you probably notice whenever you make a post, it's the first 6 or 7 people are going to be people that you know for the most part. Yeah. Well, unless we're you and you have 1,000 billion followers, but no, I think everyone has that experience. Like, the first people that engage are usually going to be the people that you know you really, really well. The algorithm definitely shows it to those people, but also the algorithm knows but that those people are probably people who are your friends, people who are going to support you no matter what you say. You could be just tripping out there and they're going to be like, yes, girl, when you should not have said that. So so the more you engage with someone, it actually has diminishing returns on how much that engagement helps that person. Not saying don't. Please do continue because it still counts. But it then looks at the other people who typically like your stuff, typically comment, typically do it, but won't necessarily always do it. And those are usually the people that are in that first 10% that it especially goes out to. Because if the people who typically engage with your content aren't messing with that piece of content, then they're like, oh, so that was a bad piece of content. So let's not push that one.
That makes sense. And so like so after that 10% sees it, like say I post a butt picture and after that 10% sees it, how do they decide like who else to, or I guess, how do they decide like to show it to more people? Like, is it?
So science, if you, or math, which I'm actually really bad at. I have dysgraphia. It's great. But I have calculators and other people. It's fine. So looking at really top tier people like your Kardashians or other people that are really big on Twitter and use Twitter frequently, we know that their average post only gets about 1 to 3% engagement off of whatever they post. Now, their super viral stuff, I like to tell people don't plan to go viral, plan to go average and you'll do a lot better. But most of their posts only get 1 to 3%. So in that 10% test, if 1 to 3% of people then end up engaging with that content, they know that that is super good content and they're going to share it out to other people. But it can dip as low as 0.5% of the people that they show it to. So if you think about it in terms of how many people follow you, if 0.5% of people engage with that piece of content, it's a decent amount. That's a decent amount given when you compare it to like big superstars and whatnot. So that is what it's looking for, is how does it compare with content that they know a lot of people tend to share and pass around on the average from their main big accounts. That was a lot.
Interesting.
I hope that made sense.
Yeah, it totally made sense.
Yeah.
So you said you generally tell people not to try to go viral. And I noticed you said something on Twitter about that the other day also.
Yeah. So think about how many times you see a piece of content that has gone viral. You do not know the person. They're not a blue check mark. And if you go to their profile, they have like 1,000 followers or 100 followers. And usually right underneath that piece of content, they're like, I don't have a SoundCloud, but like, here's a good charity, I guess. Or my other favorite one was, how did this blow up? Why is this blowing up? Those are viral pieces of content that people didn't expect to go big. And as a result, it ends up making social media algorithms go, oh, this person is hot and happening. They're doing great. We're going to categorize them in a higher bracket. Because there's look, if you look at it like a pyramid, we're all in different pieces of the pyramid, depending on how our content tends to do. Because the site, you have to remember, social media sites want to keep people on there. We want to take them off. We want them to go buy our stuff.
Click our links.
Click our links, gives me money. But they're in the business of keeping people on their site, because more people on their site, more ads, so on and so forth. So they tend to prioritize the people that make content that make people stay on the site, go through the comments and comment back and engage and whatnot. So that person who blew up out of nowhere gets categorized higher in that pyramid, and all of their subsequent content typically doesn't end up being quite what that one was. So for the next 90 days, the algorithm hates them, because they're like, wait a second, you just made top tier content. Why aren't you continuing to do that? All right, well, we're just not even going to share your stuff to even the people who already follow you.
Oh, that's so wild to me that like you follow somebody and you consent to seeing their content, you want to see their content, and you can still not see their content because the algorithm made the decision not to show it to you. That's so wild.
Well, it goes back to, and yes, I agree. We have to remember that machine learning is in its infancy. Like a lot of the tools that are making it easier for people, someone like me, who I can code myself out of a wet paper bag, but I'm not getting very far off the table. I can do just enough to get into a lot of trouble. But my grandma had the best phrases, I tell you. But yeah, so a lot of the tools that they're making to make it easier for someone like me who's interested in it but doesn't know like Ruby on Rails and all of this other stuff, not that it's made on Ruby on Rails, that's just an example. A lot of those are pretty rudimentary and still exceptionally big learning curve. So it's in its infancy. And with machine learning, we're basically trying to make a machine think like a human, but you can't do that because I mean, they should make it be like an Aspie person. We still have feelings. I'm Aspie for those who don't know. But yeah, since it's in its infancy, it's not, how to explain, it's not perfect. So when a machine looks at you, it's categorizing you. And a lot of times, I tell models this should be both comforting and also very disheartening. It's usually not a person who's looking at your account and saying, F you. It is a machine that just doesn't know what to properly do with you because it hasn't been trained in a way to know how to handle this issue. And what computers do when they don't know how to handle the issue is they put it into a folder with a question mark on it, and they'll get back to it when they figure it out. And they don't figure it out until a human comes along and goes, why is all these people in this folder? What happened? And then they have to go back through and figure out, and then they have to tell the machine, okay, with this person do this. And the sad thing is usually people just don't find that folder.
Yeah. That's something I've actually told a lot of sex workers too, is like, if your content is constantly getting flagged and deleted, it's not necessarily because someone that works for the social media company decided that it was bad. It's usually because there's user reports against you, and sometimes it can be just harassment. And if you contest the report, sometimes it'll get put back. I've had a bunch of my content on Instagram put back up when I contested it.
100%. I mean, I talk about business and marketing. Sorry, my chair is like, it's doing this thing where it just keeps going down for no reason. Need a new chair. I just bought it too. But yes. but yeah, I tell models that all the time too. Like, we want it to be a person because we're angry and we want to direct this anger and get it fixed. But literally, it's just coders who have never, like when we talked to the Instagram policy team, they're just wide-eyed going, what's going on? How? Oops. Like, it's just a bunch of people that don't know how to deal with our industry because they don't work with people in our industry who coded things in a way to stop people not in our industry, but to stop other bad actors. And then we got caught in the bear trap. We're a panther in a place where panthers should be, and they put a bear trap to catch one single bear, but all the panthers are getting caught. It's just what yeah.
Having been a stripper in the Bay Area and met plenty of dudes who work for Twitter and Instagram, I know they're not out to get us, as far as I can tell.
Exactly. No, 100%. In fact, they even say, they're like, yeah, they just don't know. And I like to tell people that, social media sites, they're not out to get us necessarily. They just don't know what they don't know, if that makes sense. These credit card companies, though, I'm side-eyeing.
Yeah. Man, what's going on with the Mastercard is really frustrating.
No, 100%. I know APAC had a meeting with them. I'm not sure if they've disclosed. I was not there.
Okay.
But I know they had a meeting with them. I don't know if they've put their statement out yet. So I don't know if I can speak on to that yet. But for those who want to know, by the time this comes out, the statement should be out. But that's APAG Union, spoke with them. I the way I look at it, like, let's go with worst case scenario, because I like to tell people, if you think in worst case scenario, you're going to be perfectly fine in best case.
Yeah.
Let's say Visa and MasterCard discover, I mean, American Express has already done it and said that no porn. Screw it. We don't want the smoke. We don't want the antis coming for us. We don't want new laws that are then going to affect us. We don't want to deal with it. It's not a problem we care about. If that were to happen, it's going to shake the industry. It's going to make it's going to have immediate repercussions. There are definitely people who are going to exit the industry and have to find something else to do in the interim. But we've been through this. Like, not the first time. Not as an industry, we've been through it so many times. We're a highly resilient industry. Anyone who's scared in the here and the now, I feel you. I am with you. Lord, I'm not sitting like back here going, ha ha ha, I'm gonna be fine. No, like, absolutely in that basket. But I also know the adult industry. I mean, the reason we have the internet is because of porn.
Yeah.
The internet was birthed because people found out they could get porn at home. They didn't have to go to an adult shop and then walk out ducking and hiding anymore. And then the internet really blew up when people found out they could get custom porn. Wait, I can contact the person who made the porn? It blew up even more. Every social media site that got popular because of hoes. We're the, I don't know if that's okay. I mean that in a loving way. I'm a hoe.
I self-identify as a hoe.
I identify as a hoe. Like, so like they can do that, but also think of how much money Visa and MasterCard makes off of us and those transactions. If they pull us now, I guarantee you they'll bring us back quite quickly, because
that's a lot of money.
It's going to hurt them. But more importantly, like, there are people in the industry that are already working on solutions for going around. There's crypto, but there's other people working on other solutions. Something is going to pop up, because there's a phrase, you incentivize what you criminalize. So if they start making, and I'm not saying that they're making it a crime, I hope that doesn't happen. But yes, but you incentivize what you criminalize. So if they make it harder for us to get it, A, our prices go up. B, we're going to find a way around it. And that is going to prove to be a very lucrative space to move into, is processing for us, because now it's finding a way to process it in a new way. It'll happen. We always bounce back. We innovate. We are the trailblazers of most things. And even if you look at crypto really started getting talked about more and more as porn sites started integrating it. We were one of the first industries to integrate crypto. And now it's on public tongues. We were the first people to do live streaming. The first live streams were cam shows. So I like to tell people the first podcasts were erotic audio. So we tend to innovate. So I like to tell people, if you're worried in the here and now, be worried. Make plans for if this was all to be pulled out from underneath us tomorrow, and what would you do? And then when it doesn't, because it most likely isn't, because there's just too many players making too much money off of us, that they're going to stick around. Then when whatever solutions come down we have, you'll be prepared. That was really long. I need to stop being long-winded. I'm very sorry.
No, truth. Do you have any like predictions for what might be the next payment processing solution? I know there's crypto, and there are even some porn companies that accept crypto. What do you think is next?
So I think crypto is going to be good for the next 2 to 3 years. Where it gets dicey, I'm not saying that it's going to go away after that. It's that a lot of different coin wallets, which for those who don't know, you have to have some sort of wallet in order to pay. A lot of the corn wallets, they don't want to be associated with porn, so they kick us off. Yay.
Yeah.
It's great. I'm so happy about that. All the happy. So with that being true, and there are some porn wallets that are out there. And it's a newer space. It's a hard space because it's a newer space, and we don't actually know all the people that are in it. It's not people who have been in our industry for 20 years that are actually going to the space. They're actually kind of newer people. So I think like the next 2 years, we're going to see a lot of people turning to that as they get tired of dealing with Visa and Mastercard. And again, if they make it harder with Visa and Mastercard, we're going to see our customers finally giving up the ghost and saying, all right, crypto. But I really do think one of the next ways of payment processing is we're going to end up seeing a cash app that is specifically for porn. We're going to see somebody that most likely is not going to be in America. They're going to be in a more porn friendly country, and they're going to create some kind of cash app type thing where we can make transfers and whatnot. I think I've seen a couple of those begin to pop up. I would name them, but I would like to investigate them more.
I've found a few that seem to work, but I've noticed that fans definitely have a hard time trusting something new, even if it's totally solid and I trust it. Fans don't like putting in their credit card into a new website.
No, 100%. That's why like the one I'm thinking of in particular, and again, I would name it, but I want to know way more about the company before I start saying it looks safe.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Exactly. You don't actually enter in your credit card information. It connects through your phone. And so long as you have a banking app on your phone, then I'm not going to pretend I understand the magic behind it. Again, I can barely get I can get out of the paper bag. I'm still on the table though. So yeah, like it actually makes it a lot safer. But 100% of what you said is that it's hard to get a guy to go to a different site, even if it's just to watch free videos. Much less get them to pay you in some way. But I think that if Visa, Mastercard were to say no more porn, we're not even dealing with it, that is 100% going to push them to be like, all right, let's roll some dice. So in a way, you can kind of look at it as this could make life easier. It could make life a lot easier because we could move these guys. Anyway.
Fingers crossed.
I don't want it to happen, but like that would be a benefit. Because guys are going to always want to buy porn. So yeah. Totally. We shouldn't just say, I guess we shouldn't just say guys. I buy a lot of porn too. Love it.
I definitely have a lot of buyers of all genders.
I was gonna say I don't know sex workers who don't buy porn. I haven't met one. I mean, I'm sure there's someone out there. We consume a lot of our own content is wow, that sounds like we're watching ourselves. I guess that's true too in a way. Editing, sorry. I'm not as terribly scared about the banking issues as I have been in the past, ironically. I say this as they have all these bills that are coming down, but I'm not really all that concerned because of how much they make off of us.
Yeah. What do you think about what's potentially happening with OnlyFans? I know I've been seeing these news articles saying that they're possibly going to kick sex workers off. What do you think about that?
There was a follow-up article where Leo said that that's not true. He doesn't plan to. But I am a business pessimist. I'm a life optimist. I'm a business pessimist. And Leo, for those who don't know, is the owner of My Free Cams and also the majority shareholder of OnlyFans. But that being majority shareholder also means there's other people that are making money off of it as well. And my problem is they don't promote us. They don't. You will not be a sex worker and be on the OnlyFans Twitter or Instagram pages. It's not going to happen. And that is
No.
very strategic. I work with a lot of really big YouTubers and Twitch streamers as well. And I've seen the contracts that they have gotten in order to switch from Patreon over to OnlyFans. And without breaking any NDAs and stuff, I can say that in some of these cases, these are very family friendly, creators. They can't actually be on a platform that is porn, super well known for porn and whatnot. So with that being said, how are the two true? You don't promote us. You're going after people who can't be on a platform that's known for porn, yet we are on there.
Yeah.
And yet you say you're not going to kick us off. Like, I have to believe that you're going to people make the best decision that's for their business. And I believe if the check looks like it's going to be big enough, they would actually make that decision. Again, I'm not trying to knock OnlyFans, but it makes perfect business sense to make that move and say at some point, I want Cardi B is on there, but like, I want some other huge singer that wouldn't come over because OnlyFans is synonymous with porn. I want this person. I want that person. And the only way to get those people is to then get rid of the porn side. That sounds terrible.
Do you think there's enough demand for safe for work premium content like that?
Yeah, no, there's a huge demand. I mean, look at Patreon. Patreon makes stupid amounts of money. YouTube, and look at, like, when people argue with me on this, I'm like, look at Twitch. People subscribe on Twitch to support creators. It's basically creator support. And while they're like, yeah, but that's a public thing, you're not getting private. They do have private posts. They do have Twitch creator only streams and stuff like that. Those people on most of my creators on Twitch makes 10 to 12 times as much. The average person I work with on Twitch makes 10 to 12 times as much as the average person I work with in sex work. There's a reason why Amazon bought Twitch, is what I like to tell people. There's a reason why YouTube bought FameBit, which is different in some ways, but comparable in other ways. There's a lot more money on the vanilla side. And with that being said, and also think about it, how many like major porn stars do you know versus how many major YouTubers do you know? It's like this. So there's a ton of money in it. And then when you start looking at people like Disney contractors, so when there are people that go through the Disney pipeline, and Disney isn't just the Disney Channel, they have other like music and whatnot. They can't be on anything that is synonymous. You will not see them on OnlyFans. You really think if Disney comes back over to OnlyFans and says, all right, here's a $10 billion check, but you do have to get rid of all your not safe for work content, you really think OnlyFans is going to say no to would you say no to that?
That's a really good point.
Would you? So knowing the money that's out there, like one Procter and Gamble contract that I saw, that luckily my NDA is up, I can talk about this one. I know a creator that made $1 million. And this isn't someone that, like, if I said the name, you wouldn't necessarily know them. Like, you would know them if you're in a singular niche. But she made $1 million off of a single, Patreon post, where she promoted one of Procter & Gamble's products. For those who don't know, Procter & Gamble is brands like Gillette, most of the cereals that we eat are Procter & Gamble, so on and so forth. So she made a post for them, made $1 million. Yeah. There's a lot of money on that side. So when people are like, no, they're never going to leave us. Also, looking at history, at brands that build themselves off of our back and then drop us, even people who were originally in the porn industry that dropped us, there's a lot of precedence there. So do I think it's possible? Yes. Do I want it to happen? No, but I just like to tell people diversify.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's the same thing I always say, is you have to cast a really wide net and just see what sticks and be able to adapt to changes.
You do, I like to tell people every major platform that we're on is hot for about 5 years. And then after that, questionable things start happening. Look at ManyVids. ManyVids was the popular platform that I got made fun of for not being on right before OnlyFans blew up. I'm not regretting this decision.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard about what happened.
I saw that. I peeped that early on what was going on, and I was like, I don't think that one's gonna last the test of time. Didn't. OnlyFans I saw doing really, really well. It just and I have an OnlyFans, for those who wonder. I have an OnlyFans. It does really well. I love it. I get a bag there, but I'm also I'm critical of everyone.
Mm-hmm. In light of potential changes with OnlyFans, what do you think of with what's happening with Twitter now? I noticed this morning that they rolled out the monetization feature, and there is actually an adult category.
How to explain? I think Twitter, because honestly, even like 2 years ago, they were making a lot of moves where I was like, they're going to kick us off like soon. And they've made a lot of changes for that. They seem to have done, I think they realized they really looked hard at what happened to Tumblr. And they're like, we don't want to be the other T, social platform that fell after we kicked off Not Safe for Contact. I honestly don't think that Twitter would be as popular if you kicked us off. So I like that they did it, but I also know that Twitter owns Square, and Square is as anti-sex work as possible. And unless they have two separate payment processors for this, I have some reservations about Twitter that I've never actually voiced. And one of the things that worries me is there's no 2257. I could, Daisy, I would never, but I'm only using you because you're here. I'm picking on you. I could go take a clip of you and say from Pornhub, I could go to your Pornhub page, download a clip, upload it to my Twitter right now. And while you could claim me for copyright, no one's asking me for my 2257. How many people, at least OnlyFans, ask you, like, they flip out if you post someone that's not you. They're like, yeah, we need the documentation for this to stay up. Every adult platform does the same thing too. So my question then becomes, how is Twitter going to handle 2257? I also know that Twitter doesn't really consult with sex workers when it comes to their rules and their policies. So do they even know what 2257 is? Who is the attorney that they're talking to that knows about the adult industry and the nuances? So I'm happy. I would never say don't get a bag. In fact, I run at bags that, even though I'm like, oh, I ain't running that direction. I ain't gonna get mad at you. I'll be clapping you along on the sidelines, cheering for you. It worries me. It actually worries me that it's going to make it to where Twitter's going to have so many problems with the adult sector that they're then officially going to make the decision and be like, this isn't worth it.
That's a really good point. And for those who don't know, a 2257 is the age verification form that is required for adult film or any sort of adult content. And different platforms have been handling it differently. I know it was a huge issue on OnlyFans when they had their own release form in 2257 because people were uploading old content that they had shot years ago with performers that might be retired or people that just aren't around anymore or can't be contacted. And they had old model releases and old 2257s that were just standard to their business. And because OnlyFans requires a specific one that is proprietary, then that content can't be used if the model can't be contacted to sign new paperwork.
Yeah, which, so funnily enough, that rule came down because, so about 6 months ago, Mastercard sent out, and they never do this. Well, they've done it once or twice. But it's usually they roll out these are the new rules. You've got about 48 hours before we come through your site and start spanking you. So this time they rolled out like, hey, we're gonna have some major changes. You guys are gonna have to be changing up your business structure. Here's what we're gonna do. So like studios and platforms got this huge long list, but it wasn't, it was very vague, which is bad. Vague is bad. When they give you vague rules, you need to err on the absolute worst case scenario. And one of the things was talking about content rights and being able to be like, yeah, if the, so like, let's say me and Daisy did content today, my driver license expires tomorrow, and I signed the paperwork, she would have to have me get my new license and then sign, because the content was only as good as the driver's license was. Could you imagine, Daisy? My heart when I read that, I was like, this is so bad. Like,
you have to get new paperwork every year then.
Yeah, exactly. New paperwork every year. And can you imagine like the drama that happens in our industry? Like two people have a cat. And I was like, and then it goes back to the whole, we don't have responsibility anymore, because if I sign saying that you have the rights to my content, no matter what happens between me and you after that, you still have the rights because I agreed to that at the time. So like, I was just like, here we go. Like, but the issues were coming. So OnlyFans decided that they were going to make their own proprietary 2257 process. It is not like that on other platforms, but other platforms are talking about potentially doing it. But then when we brought this up to Mastercard, Mastercard's like, no, that's not what we meant. And I was like, I don't know how to take this otherwise. And they're like, no, you can have your old content. It's fine. How?
So you actually had a meeting with Mastercard about the new rules?
I sent a bunch of emails to their attorney. And
thank you.
Like very polite, very nicely worded email asking for clarification, because what I read through, I was like, they were trying to make it to where like we have to monitor every piece of content before it's posted. So if you submit, if you upload a 15-minute video and say, I want it to post right now, that's cute. You're going to have to wait at least 20 minutes for someone to be able to get to it and go through it. And that's best case scenario. You might be waiting a few hours. And I was like, I work for,
and having someone reviewing content all day, every day is just extraordinary to ask.
Exactly. And like, for those who don't know, I also work full-time for Adult Empire, and we're rolling out a new platform. And I was like, we would need multiple people to do that. And then when we say, no, sorry, you can't upload your extremely illegal content here, then we get chewed out. Then we get yelled at, because they're like, no, I should be able to post whatever I want, freedom of speech. Go exercise your freedom of speech on your own website. Wait, sorry, that's what we can't say that to people. Wish we could. We should be able to say that to people. But yeah, I was like, so now we're gonna get chewed out more, which, I mean, we want to get that content off the site, but like, we're gonna have to go review through this stuff. We're gonna have to upload. When I bitch about having to like get it off the site, it's not that I want it up there, it's that we're gonna have to get more customer service people to handle the influx of upset people. We're gonna have to have secondary reviewers when people appeal us taking something down. Yeah, no, wow. And then we're gonna have everyone and their dog pissed that they can upload instantly to Twitter, but they can't upload to that. Yeah. So I wrote
a mess.
Yeah, I wrote in a Mastercard for clarification, and I walked away with no clarification, but at least I do have it in writing, them saying that they don't want to make it to where content that was signed for in the past can no longer be used.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
How they're going to do that and also implement these new things, I don't know. They're telling me 2 + 2 = 4, but I had a mathematician look at it and it said it's 7. So we'll see how it rolls out. But yeah, And a lot of it is a push from these anti-porn companies. And the beautiful thing is, I believe the anti-porn companies are going to fizzle out. Um, they're using people who are no longer in the industry. They're saying that they don't want to ruin our industry. They don't want to, well, some of them are saying they want to end it, but the ones that these companies like Mastercard, the one that the politicians are listening to, are saying, no, we don't want to like ruin your industry. We just want to make it safer. More and more people are kind of catching the bullshit. Like, wait a second, everyone you have speaking for you are like ex people from the industry. You don't have anyone who's currently in the industry speaking about what needs to be done in the industry. So
I noticed some of the organizations that are really coming down hard on adult content started distancing themselves from religious ties and trying to say they're not religious organizations anymore.
Yeah, because there's a heavy stigma of, okay, you're just like Bible thumpers and whatnot. And they're trying to go the route of saying that it's not because of my love of Jesus. It's it's a human rights thing. And that was as someone who also does a lot of marketing, publicity, same realm, someone in that sphere, I mean, good spin. That would be the direct, if I lost my soul and started working for them, that would be a Amberly like move to be like, hi, so you're winning, no, you're only winning the evangelicals over, you're clearly going to need more of a base. You've been fighting this fight since the actual beginning of time, according to you, which is the Bible. Literally, it started day one, and we're not winning yet. So we need to like not make it about dear baby Jesus and his little cradle. We need to make it about just being humans. And that's actually why they've gotten traction that they've had recently. But again, it's, people are smart. They get upset over buzzwords and stuff. But if the thing is, the more you hear a buzzword, like I remember, about to show my age, I was in like high school when 9/11 happened, when the trade towers got hit. And the words ISIS and the words ISIL used to scare the fuck out of me. I would not want to go places. I didn't want to fly on a plane. I didn't want to like take a Greyhound. Is that the next thing that's going to happen? Didn't want to be on a subway. Because people are using certain words over and over and over again. But now we can talk about ISIL and ISIS. And I mean, it's still not a pleasant conversation, but it is, but we can talk about it without having that illicit fear. So them saying words like trafficking, them saying words like sexual slavery and stuff doesn't have the same like punch, because people are getting desensitized to it. And it's making people then go back and look, okay, well, you keep saying these words over and over again. Wait a second, everyone that you're pointing out that this has happened to are people who were in the adult, and why don't you also have people who are currently in the adult industry who are saying these same things, who are saying, hey, yeah, this is happening in our industry. I like it. How can we get it out? How come it's always just people who got harmed? You don't have any success stories that also agree with you. So
and now with the way that social media is, those of us that realize that trafficking is a completely separate issue can be very outspoken and speak our truth.
Yeah, no, they see, while I said that was an Amberly type move, they pulled it too late. They pulled it when they post an article, and then all of a sudden thousands of us pour in saying, yeah, that doesn't happen. Because like, I remember when the Pornhub thing happened. And again, I can criticize Pornhub till the cows come home. Like, we can sit here and talk for 3-4 hours about my beefs with Pornhub. But it is a platform that we can use that would make us a lot of money. And it's one of the major ones. So ignoring it's dumb. I can also bitch about Twitch and YouTube too. Trust me, I can come for any platform. There's not one. But in the case when they said that there were these videos that are up there and Pornhub wouldn't take them down, I've never reported a video and had it taken more than 10 minutes on Pornhub to get taken down. I can name countless videos on YouTube that deserve to be taken down, that I've reported and they didn't get taken down. So
I have reported things that were absolutely foul on Instagram and not had them taken down, things that are absolutely illegal content.
No, 100%. Like I've seen content that without triggering anyone, I've seen content that I called the cops on it. The cops moved faster than Instagram did. So when I was reading those articles, I was like, okay, I want to believe victims. I want to believe that if you're telling me this is your experience, it happened. I'm not here to argue whether or not that happened to you. But I had someone post a picture of my kid on Facebook. And when I told Facebook that is a picture of my child and I don't want it up, I don't post my kids like that on Facebook. It took 7 days to get it taken down after sending in their birth certificate and my ID.
Wow.
But when I report stuff on Pornhub, it gets taken down in 10 minutes. And that was a long time for me to wait. I'm sitting there like, really? That's usually seconds. The hell?
And I do appreciate some of the changes that have been made to Pornhub. I know now they require age verification for all content. So
100%. And that was one of the things that we've been screaming again, being critical. I'm not a stan, I'm not a stan, I'm not an enemy of them, but but yeah, that's something we've been screaming forever. Like, okay, you want to do tube sites, I get it, it's revolutionary, you're basically making YouTube but for porn, it's fine, do it, but also no one should be able to upload unless they have their IDs, unless you have these contracts, unless we know for a fact they own it. That shouldn't be able, that shouldn't. And then they did make the program where if we found it, it could be moved into our account, we could get paid for it. But what happens if I never wanted that out there in the first place? Just make it to where people have to have IDs in order to upload it. So I'm glad.
And it cuts back on stolen content as well.
What's that?
It cuts back on stolen content as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. Stolen content. Yes. So yeah, no, exactly. Like stolen content, like you can give me the money for the views, but how, like, okay, so one view of my stolen content is anywhere between $5 to $20 on average. I didn't make $5 to $20 off of one view. So like if it got 1,000 views, yeah, we know 90% of those guys would never have paid anyways, but you know, let's go with that. Let's go with the 90%. That's fine. That's what you want to tell me. That means 10% of the people probably would have paid. 10% of 5,000 is still 500, which again, 500 people wouldn't have found you unless it was free on the site. Okay, well, let's take 10% of that. So that is 50. 50 times 10 will go straight down the middle from the 5 to 20 valuation. And we're right back at we're right back at that we're right back at that $500. And on 5,000 views, you were not going to get $500 on Pornhub. So like these are, but I'm glad that they made those changes. And I know that they're working hard on being able to get everything back online. I still don't think we get paid for Model Hub anymore, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think they have the processing, do they?
I don't think so. I know we can still get ad views, but I don't think we can get like, I know before we could get direct payments, we could get custom orders and all that, but I don't think we can do that anymore.
Yeah, I think that's still gone. I don't know when or if that'll be coming back. So yeah, some like it's definitely making platforms realize they should probably be listening to the models. We might know how to get them not canceled.
Yeah.
But yeah, just
and that's another big argument in the trafficking debate, is if these platforms and these companies actually listen to the workers in the industry, we can help point out instances of abuse and how to deal with that.
It's a tightrope. I remember actually just like I'm just coming out of this like mental crisis that I had, of it's that dichotomy of, if you tell everybody, if anyone argues with you or is mean to you, they're a hater, you don't listen to them. Well, sometimes even if someone's screaming and they're, even if you're calling me a bitch, you might still have a good point.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be the person who only listens to people who are being nice to you. So it becomes difficult. For myself, it was difficult being a lesser known person in the industry. It's hard for me to get 1,000 people telling me 20,000 things to do, it feels like, collectively. And then with working on platforms, one minute you have someone telling you you're awesome, the next minute you have someone telling you you're a scumball. And sometimes it's, you didn't actually do anything wrong, it's that they just they didn't read an email, or they don't check the email that they signed up with, so they weren't notified. Well, we sent the notification, but they didn't end up seeing it. um I'm not trying to make an excuse for any platform that hasn't, who's been warned by models. But one of the biggest problems in the adult industry versus like Twitch and all, other brands that I've worked with, is that most of them actually don't have a model advisory board, or if they do, it's all top models. That's a problem, because top models have definitely problems that are very valid. I'm not gonna be like, oh, must be nice. No, it sucks. Trust me, it sucks. But they don't, most platforms, when they're growing, they grow and they pay attention to the people that are at the top. Once you hit a certain point, most of your money actually comes from that middle tier of people. And so you have to develop tools and develop stuff around that middle tier, and you need to be listening to them, because often they're the people that see the problems before the top models who have assistants, or they have, and sometimes people inside that company that's handling some of the stuff we handle on our own for them, so that they have more time to do other stuff. So really, that's one thing that Melrose Michaels is championing. She has taken up the mantle for is putting together a group of models to advise companies on what are they doing, where are they going wrong, what are they doing right, and spotting potential holes before they happen. So that, I just ranted again. I'm terrible.
No, again, we're here to listen to you talk today.
Yeah. And I also, like, I want to give advice to anyone who's like talking to a platform. Be kind, even if you're pissed. Trust me, there's times I've been foaming at the mouth, just rabid. And a lot of times I'll take an hour, 2, maybe 8, maybe I come back the next day, and then I send them a message, and I go through, I'll send them a message and I'll go through like my points and everything, because they're going to hear it better. People don't hear things when you're screaming at them, and you'll be surprised at how many times it's just a miscommunication, or they literally just didn't know. They should have known though, but they just didn't know. So sorry.
No, you're good. So a while ago, I'm going to switch subjects here for a minute.
Oh, sure.
A while ago, you hosted a panel that I was actually on with you about neurodiversity in sex work. And I want to talk about that for a minute, and why it's important to acknowledge that.
Yeah, no, it's a thing that, so I think it's just, as entertainers in general, because you don't really hear about major actors talking. It's a taboo thing, because when you say I'm neurodiverse, people hear damaged, people hear messed up. I also think people are scared of the word, because it means we're not normal, we don't think like other people. For example, I'm Aspie, and a lot of times I come off very robotic or cold, and that doesn't mean I don't have feelings, but I don't process things the way other people do. So I wanted desperately to do that panel, because it was something that I hadn't seen anyone talk about in the industry. And we do have, we are special needs in a way. And I like to lead with telling people that I'm aspie, because I'm probably going to hurt your feelings by saying something very insensitive, and not mean it. Like the moment you tell me I hurt your feelings, I'll start crying because I feel
Oh,
terrible.
well, you haven't hurt my feelings yet.
I've tiptoed, madame. But understanding that struggle, once someone knows I'm aspie, if I say something that like they're like, whoa, yeah, don't phrase it like that, then I'm like, oh, so sorry. Knowing people have anxiety makes it to where you're probably less likely to yell at that person, because you know that if they did mess up, then it was probably due to their anxiety. We have PTSD is another one we see a lot in this industry, and especially in entertainment worlds, you see a lot of people that are neurodiverse. um, I don't know what it is about being creative and neurodiverse, but they seem to like be married to each other. They're just not telling anybody. They're on the low about their marriage. We don't know why. They're not wearing rings. But I see a lot of people in all fields, comedy, acting, so on and so forth. A lot of us are neurodiverse and we just don't talk about it because we don't want people to think we're strange. So I think it's important to normalize it. And I found that when you do tell people like how you're different, people approach you a lot differently, and they're a lot nicer when they're handling you. And it tends to actually make it easier. And I mean, I don't suffer
creates
from
understanding.
Yeah, exactly. It takes you from being a random person on the internet to that is a person who has anxiety, so I should probably be very careful about this criticism because they're going to take it as if the world has ended. Yes.
Yeah. I'll say that panel was actually one of the first times that I had publicly talked about having ADHD and PTSD, and like before you asked me to participate in that, it hadn't really occurred to me how important it was to share those things with my audience. And it was just kind of like a private thing that I knew and was dealing with. But I have actually spoken to a lot of people that like it helps them to be able to relate.
Yeah, I think that's important too. I think it's important seeing people like before I wrote my first book, I mean, I was a top model on different sites, but I was just about my money. I wasn't talking to other models unless I had to. It was just tunnel vision on do my work, go home. But which is also not bad. If that's you, I'm again clapping for you. I'm on the other side of the street screaming for my neighbor. But before I got one of the things that pulled me out of that, when people were asking me like, how did you get on these sites, or blah, 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 how did you get where you are, I was like, wow, there's not a lot of people that look like me. There's, and not just look like, but a lot of people who are like me. There's not a lot of aspie people that are out there. There's actually a shit ton. There's a lot of us. The more I talk about it, the more people are like, me too. And I'm like, yes. And it made me realize that there's not a lot of people representing us out there. And until there are, we are going to be marginalized. Until we're going to be sitting in the shed. We're in our own closets. We're in our own closets. And so it gave me the strength to be like, okay, so I'm just going to be a hot mess publicly now. I'm going to take all the smoke in the mirrors out the room, and you guys can see how messed up someone can be. But also, actually, I shouldn't say messed up because these things don't make you messed up, but that's the perception a lot of people have. But you can actually get to see the person and see that I can be flawed, I can mess up, but I can also be successful. And you can also then see a person grow. So I think that's important. So if you are any kinds of different, please, like, if you have the strength, knit a sweater, write it, wear that bitch, like, let people know who the F you are. Yes. Sorry. If you don't knit, I can knit it for you.
Cute.
Cable knit. I'm good at it. Yes.
Nice. I wish I remembered how to knit. My grandma taught me when I was a kid, and I cannot remember.
Yeah, you get into things like every 10 seconds. You can get back on that. It can
I
be
know,
your project of the month.
that's the ADHD. I literally have like a new hobby every week, and then by the next week I'm over it.
You made me think, because you were talking about that on the panel. I actually talked to my doctor about it. I didn't get diagnosed with it. I'm like, I have a lot of abandoned projects. Like, is that like, am I ADHDing? But the funny thing is, it didn't make me go, oh my God, do I have ADHD? I was like, oh, is that why? Like, I was excited to have like an explanation for this behavior. No, it's just that I get distracted. Well, I mean, that sounds like ADHD, but it's not that. It's that I think being just creative people, we need to find different outlets sometimes too. Not diminishing, saying that yours is not because of ADHD. You're saying mine.
And there's a lot of symptom crossover I've noticed between different types of neurodiversity. A lot of like similar symptoms.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Like the coldness. Who was it? Oh, I see her face and I love her face. I'm terrible with names, by the way. Which seeing people's faces in their heads does not help in cases like this. But she was on the panel and she was talking about how she has major depression, like clinical depression, and that she comes off very cold. And once the camera's on, she can click and be like whatever the character is. But once the cameras are off, she's like, and people like get upset and they think that she hates them. She's like, no. Which that does sound like resting bitch face. I've got that too. But no, she, like, for her, it wasn't resting bitch face. It was the clinical depression. And there's some crossover there because, again, with being Asperger's, I can come off cold, especially in text. If I'm ever like typing to you and you're like angry at me, no, the chances are I did not words right. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's a symptom crossover too, is depression, that you just come off really cold.
Want to be fabulous just like these strippers? Pay attention, it's stripper tips.
If you had to give like one piece of advice to sex workers in general, what would you say?
Shit, I get this question a lot, and you'd think I'd stop being stumped on it. God, there's so many things. I would say all the things. I would say the number one thing is, remember, we're in the entertainment industry, and the biggest cause of depression, well, okay, not like on a clinical level, but the biggest cause of people being hard on themselves is competition. And I'm not saying we're oversaturated. I don't believe in that word. It's not a word that's in my lexicon. But we perceive competition. I will see Daisy post about making $1,000 that day and be like, why didn't I make 1,000? There's a lot of smoke and mirrors in this industry, and really in every industry. Yeah. So never compare yourself to someone else, because A, you don't know if what they're posting is true, because sometimes we're just trying to get the boys riled up, get them paying. B, if they are making that kind of money, more problems. Trust me, like that happens too. And C, that's not going to help you move forward. The best thing that you can do is compare yourself to who you were yesterday. How was I yesterday? What did I do yesterday? And that is how progress is made.
That's a really, really good point. I know sometimes I refer to myself as a class drag queen.
I love
because
you.
Like sometimes you just have to put on that performance of I'm rich, I'm famous, I'm the top, I'm the biggest, baddest, whatever I'm doing. And
Bitch, I saw
sometimes
you sure did. I saw the line. I saw your line at AVN.
Thank you.
But
sometimes you have to perform that to get there, you know?
Yeah, no, 130%. Like, again, there's a thing called inspect element. I was literally talking about it today. I can go in and make my bank account look like there's $3 million in it, take a screenshot and post it on Twitter right now. Everyone would believe it. Every person.
Wow.
Yeah, I can go in. I can go into DMs and I can change what you said in DMs and post it as a
What?
receipt. Yeah.
What?
In the page, think about it this way: when you're looking at a computer screen, the page that you're looking at is it basically it has to process to show you, right? So everything on there can be altered. So what I can do is open up the page with our DMs, use inspect element, which is on like every browser. So it's a free tool everyone has access to. Click on the area on the screen that I want to edit, so your message, and I could make it look like you messaged me and said, Amberly, I like to climb to the top of the Empire State Building and throw down shards of glass. I don't know why I would make it look like that. And then I can close inspect element and that page will stay until I click refresh. Once you refresh, it goes back to the way that it should be. But I can take a screenshot of that, post it, and everyone would think that you like to go to the top of Empire State Building and throw down glass. Please don't do that. That sounds very dangerous.
That kind of capability sounds terrifying.
No, it's actually what like a lot of scammers do. Like when they're doing the refund scams, is you go into your bank account and then they'll black out your screen so you can't see what they're doing. And then they'll go change like your deposit. I could change my deposits and stuff and make it look like OnlyFans sent me $3 million. Wow. Literally.
That's so wild. That's so wild.
Yeah. So with that, like again, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors in this industry. So don't compare, because you never know. And even if you do know, and even if like that's my best friend, like I've seen it, again, like comparing yourself to someone else is not going to improve yourself. So just look at the areas you can improve in today. So
that's really, really good advice.
Yeah, but no, you can do some really crazy things with inspect element, madam. I can make it look like I'm blue check marked and I've got 1 million followers. Is a dude.
Wow.
It's fake, but I've got them. I could go in there and change it and make it look like Jack, the owner of Twitter's talking to me.
Wow, that blows my mind. That blows my mind. So if you were reincarnated as any kind of animal, what would you want to be?
Tiger.
Yeah, tiger's pretty cool. Let's see. If you could only wear one fabric for the rest of your life, what would you like?
Linen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
breathable. Breathable, stackable if it's cold.
If money were not an option and you could build your absolute dream house anywhere you want, what would that look like?
Underwater in Hawaii.
Ooh, that would be gorgeous.
And I want like a see-through tunnel when you're walking through, so I can see all the I'm a weird one.
I would definitely come visit you. And if you could have any like fantasy technology, what would you invent?
Ooh, fantasy technology. Crap. Oh, why did you have to give a hard one? What would I invent if I had fantasy technology? Honestly, wings, like for humans, like portable, fits like a backpack that I can just take off. Yep.
That would be fun. Have you heard about the guy that was like bothering the airport with his jetpack? I think it was in LA that this was happening. He was like flying around the airport with a jetpack and like bothering the airport. I don't know if they ever caught him either. I don't know if they ever caught him, but it was like a thing for a minute. And it was recent too.
That's insane. I mean, I know this one YouTuber has a thing. It's not quite a jetpack, but like it does like lift up, and maybe it is considered a jetpack, but like, oh, I hope that wasn't him. I don't think he would. He's a really sweet guy. But like,
I mean, that's pretty illegal.
he like flies from his house just to go get McDonald's. And
that's so cool.
Yeah, and it's like, I want to be able to do that, but wow, no. I'm gonna go look that up. Anywho, well, I want to thank you again. This meant so much, and I'm sorry we didn't do it yesterday.
Thank you. This
this
is a really awesome conversation.
Oh, thank you. I hope it wasn't too long-winded. And I absolutely adore everything you do. I've been a big fan for years. And then I met you and I became a bigger fan because you're just as genuine as you are on Twitter.
Thank you.
So yeah, much love. And thank you, Stripper Podcast, for allowing me to come on. This is super cool.
Absolutely. And is there anything else you want to tell us about where you're at or what you're doing?
Yeah. So I actually have a new book coming out that I've literally not talked about any other place but here.
That's exciting.
Thank you. On July 31st, it will be live. And it's all about how I crack algorithms on any platform, adult, non-adult. If there's a site and I want to figure out how to get my stuff to be number one, the exact methodology I use for dissecting sites and figuring them out.
Wow. Where's the best place to find that book?
It will be on Amazon. If you go to Amazon and type in Amberly Rothfield, there's actually a follow button. You can follow your favorite authors, and anytime they drop anything, you can get notified.
Awesome. Yeah, I have your ebook about OnlyFans. It was really informative. I got it.
Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And where can we find you online?
Oh, AmberlyRothfield.com, but also at Twitter at AmberlyPSO, as in phone sex operator. I thought that was clever, and it's not. It's really stupid. I shouldn't have done that. I made mistakes.
It works, though. You're there, and we are going to come find you on the internet. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. This has been really awesome.
Yay. The pleasure is mine. And
thank you for listening. This has been a production with Period Podcast Network. You can find out more on Instagram at Period Podcast Network, and you can follow us at Yes, a Stripper Podcast on Instagram and Yes, a Stripper Pod on Twitter. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your feedback in the comments on YouTube. We'll see you next week.